How do you like this one? Because I kind of like it. Horns, a funky bass line, just a jamming thing. I don't even know what this is called. I wish I knew. What is this one called? Shroom Stew. I like it. All right, let's do this thing. Good damn morning, everybody. How you doing? Happy Friday. I'll turn the music down so you can hear me better. It's Funky Friday on the Morning Night Live, and it's also Q&A day, and I forgot to write that in the chat, or the whatever you call it. We'll do Q&A today. I'll go through the trending topics as fast as I can, get to the main topic, and then we'll just do the rest of Q&A, because I know you have questions, or you got shit you want to say, so I'm going to oblige you like I do every Friday. Yes, I wrote that myself. It rhymed, and it was quite right on time. This shit's sublime. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Shall we get this thing started? Turn that music off. And Johnny, play the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, the one and only Dawg Knight.
That's my girl. Thank you, Alyssa. I appreciate it. Let's get this thing started. Where's the main one? There you go. Stop that music. Okay, here we go. Good morning, everybody. Oh, wait a minute. Bring that funky beat back up. Yeah. I like this one. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as Dawg Knight on the internet. It's Funky Friday on the Morning Night Live on this Friday, the 26th of January, 2024, where sometimes a snarky judge thinks he's got a gotcha. And I think maybe, of course, me not being one who has done, I don't spend a lot of time writing or reading legal briefs, maybe I wasn't precise in my language, so I'm going to explain the answer to that question to the judge in a response. Let me fix this because we do not have a sponsor of the day yet. But I'm preparing it. I want to talk about the response that I'm preparing because maybe you all can help me a little bit on this. So we'll do a response to the judge. I'm kind of looking forward to writing this because I really actually want to have a conversation with this judge because there's several reasons why I believe that these states of Colorado and Maine, whoever wants to try to disqualify Trump based on the 14th Amendment, does not have jurisdiction. And we talked a lot about it yesterday. We'll talk about it a little more today, but we got a lot of other stuff too. There's other news to talk about, so we'll get to that and more after I say hello. Johnny, shut that music off. Thank you, sir. Okay, let's say hi first. The first to chat over in Rumble, Mr. Avocados Diablo gets the bell. And by the way, that little da for every time I do the bell for Avocados Diablo, that's because that's his theme song. He's out there being shocking and amazing. Whoops, what the hell was that? Also, good morning to my friend Jimmy Das Hotep from Hotep Nation. And hello, tall person over on Rumble. If you're watching on Rumble, just say hi in the chat. You don't have to. Oh, there's only 3 of you anyway. Never mind. That was everybody on Rumble. I looked at Rumble. And there's only 4. Well, it says 4, but I'm one of the 4. So all 4 people have chimed in on Rumble. That's disappointing. Anyway. Oh no, not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. I hope that's wrong. I hope you're not. Is this thing freezing up on you? What the hell? Uh-oh. Am I frozen? Or is that just me? Oh, no, I hit pause in there. Okay. Anyway, on YouTube, first in chat is also Avocados Diablo, who gets the bell. Thank you, sir. Well done. Well done. You got a double dose of, whatever. Well, it's working fine on, it's working fine on, you did the Rumble chat. By the way, did y'all know that you can, if you happen to be running two screens or whatever, if you're not, whatever, you can pop out the chat from YouTube and Rumble, both, if you want to, and put them somewhere else. That's what I do. Also, good morning, Keishel, up in the early and bright and shiny and all that stuff. I don't know why I called you shiny. Good morning, also Zed the Snarky, Special Can, Acid, Tire, Tire, Alexander, the Gentleman Lich. All right, turn that off. Thank you. Anand123, good morning. Also, JB, what's up? Lord Stanhope, Attack Alpaca. Blah, 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 blah. Attack Alpaca. And number one is here. Good morning also to, I said Lord Stanhope. Who else is here? Simon Wolfwood, hello. Good morning also to my favorite Canadian, Jaeger Ponies in the house. What's up? Let's see. C. Thomas, Kapow. Don't like it. Have to be contrarian. Okay, that's okay. You be contrarian. Bitch. Also, Tall Person's over on YouTube too. Annalyn is here. Simon Wilkins, what's up? Good morning also to Green Badger Outdoors and Woodcutter. Nice to see you. So, and we have our first donation day over on Rumble. A Rumble rant from Tall Person. Thank you, sir. Today, and it's a day thing. Today is National Big Wig Day. And that's big wig as in large hairpiece as opposed to an important person. So this is a day we probably celebrate Dolly Parton because she has a whole bunch of big wigs. Did I see Banks here too? I could have sworn I saw Banks' avatar. Oh no, Simon and Banks have very similar avatars, so that always messes me up. Okay, so there's the highs, the hellos, the lows, and everything else. Let's do a little thank you round here too, because several of you have tweeted out the show. So thank you here to Somnambule Nation. Thank you for tweeting out the show. Greatly appreciate it. And also Jimmy Das Hotep. By the way, I am retweeting you as we speak. Good morning, all. Thank you, Scribe Light. Thank you, Tyler F, for retweeting my show. Also, Tall Person, you are a great American for tweeting out the show, or posting, as they say now on Twitter. The cool kids say posting. And Tall Person also did the Rumble post. So thank you very much for tweeting out the show. Please share the show. Slim Tito 02 is in the house. Please share the stream. Share the stream. Every once in a while we get a new person. It's weird because I haven't had any new subscribers in the last however many days it's been. I had one new subscriber last week. I'm at 2,107. I've been kind of around there for a while. So I gotta step up my game and do more shorts and stuff like that. But whatever. And another thank you to Jimmy Das Hotep. By the way, Jimmy Das Hotep, you are the new Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. Thank you so far. You are the Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. The largest donor of the day is the Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. On Streamlabs, this show is, I wouldn't say, it's sort of sponsored by Streamlabs because that's what I use to make the thing work. So anyway, Jimmy Das Hotep says, activist judges are the worst, especially those who would bend law in order to violate election of citizens. Many judges are just hacks who bend to the whim of their ideology. They are not about upholding citizens' legal rights anymore. Yes, in many of these very political cases, you see some very political judges. It's really kind of disheartening. The judge says Section 5 has never been interpreted that way. Has a case like this ever actually occurred to cause it to be looked at? Exactly. Not now, and I'll get into that because someone also responded to the self-executing thing and said, well, the Supreme Court has already said that the 14th Amendment is self-executing. Oh, contraire, mon frere. Not exactly. Yes. they have ruled that sections of the 14th Amendment are self-executing, but that's not exactly what they meant when it comes to Section 3. We'll get into that too, because this is my new hobby, is talking about this 14th Amendment thing until the Supreme Court rules on it. And I think the Trump team has made a mistake on how they are arguing this, because the Colorado Supreme Court says they have jurisdiction because, I'll get into that. I'm going to come back to that. But they claim to have jurisdiction in Section 3 because the self-executing, whatever, and blah, blah, blah. No, they don't. But who knows how these judges are going to rule. And I'm going to be pissed if it's some lame-ass 5-4 decision. It's got to be a 9-0 decision. And there are some very good reasons. But I have a whole bunch of other news to talk about first. That's the main topic. I got the other news to talk about. So let's talk about what's trending right now. And now I'm surprised Texas isn't trending. First, oh shoot, where is it? Oh, phew, I thought I accidentally moved something I didn't want to move. Bob Uecker is trending. Now, if you're not familiar with Bob Uecker is a famous baseball announcer. I believe he was the Cleveland baseball announcer for years. And he's also in the movie Major League. He is the announcer for the Cleveland Indians in the movie Major League. And he's a funny guy. He used to do a lot of commercials back in the 80s and 90s. And he's just a famous Hall of Fame baseball. He's in the Baseball Hall of Fame as an announcer. Well, Bob Uecker's trending not because he died. Denzel Washington GIF or GIF, whichever you prefer. They're like, oh, he didn't die. No, he's not dead. He's not dead. It's just his birthday. So happy birthday, Bob Uecker. One of the great baseball announcers. This is 90th birthday. 90th birthday to Bob Uecker. Holy smokes. The man, the myth, the legend. Bob Uecker. In fact, Major League, there's a scene from Major League where he's drinking while he's doing the announcing. A hilarious scene. And the one pitch when Vaughn pitches that strike, he pitches a fastball, but it's like almost to the dugout, above the dugout, and he says, just a little bit outside. So that's Bob Uecker. Happy birthday, Bob Uecker. All right, let's move on, because that's not, I don't have to talk about that too much. By the way, all these links are in the tweets. Thank you, C. Thomas, dropping a deuce in the tip jar through the YouTube super chats. I will clean that up later. Who says, suddenly penis, spelled like pea as in the little green vegetable, as in the princess and the pea, suddenly penis. Oh, what I never noticed too, C. Thomas has changed his moniker to C. Thomas Peasant. I'm sorry. Announced for the Brewers. Thank you. That was a mistake. He was the announcer for the Brewers, but in Major League he was announced for the Cleveland Indians. So my mistake. Thank you for clarifying that. C. Thomas, thank you very much for the deuce. I appreciate it. Drop as many deuces if you'd like into my little room here. And also, by the way, good morning, Reaccion Puerto Rico, you lovely island of tropical breezes. I can't help but sing a show tune sometime. Am I gay? I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, no, I'm a happily married man for over 30 years, and I have lovely children and grandchildren. So, and I can say grandchildren plural now because I have 2. Okay, next, also trending core PCE. Now, which is they changed the name of these things. It's basically the inflation rate, right? And apparently people are excited because the core PCE dropped below 3% year to year for the first time since 2021. Since 2021. So in 3 years, it's the first time it's been below 3%. Is that 2.2 2.9%. Now, this is interesting. Feds can't keep up with inflation. September projection 2023 was 3.7. December projection for 2023 was 3.2. Today, core PCE year over year came out at 2.9%. Okay. Now, it's always interesting when I see this. By the way, they're speculating that it could possibly cause the Fed to lower the interest rate. Now, when they say interest rate, it doesn't mean your interest rate. Oh, fuck, no. Although it could possibly affect interest rates that you have on certain things, revolving credit, new mortgages, stuff like that, adjustable mortgages, whatever. But that's not how it works. See, the Fed interest rate is the interest rate at which the Fed loans money to banks so they can loan money to you. And so sometimes there's a quick corresponding up and down with it or not. But it is how they have been using the interest rate to manage inflation and whatever. But now, the people getting all excited. So here it is, someone here, breaking December PCE inflation. The Fed's preferred inflation measure was unchanged at 2.6%, in line with expectations. Core inflation fell to 2.9%, below expectations of 3.0%. This is the lowest core PCE inflation number since April 2021, a welcome sign by the Fed. So some people are like, oh, inflation's going down. The prices are going down. Blah, blah, blah. No. Stop. When you idiots who say this, no. That just means that instead of going up 3% after going up 8%, after going up 4%, after going up 2.5, 1 point or 3 point whatever percent, it just means that prices only went up from last year to this year 2.9%. It still went up, and it still went up from the year of record inflation went up. So yeah, no, it's not. That's not the case. So anyway. But it's, it is good news that it's come down a tick, but the overall inflation rate has remained unchanged. Okay, just the core of the things that they don't count is, fuel and food are not in the core or something like that. It's where they take out stuff that, core is food and fuel. But nobody's. What is interesting is when I see that even that slight change, I don't see anybody like jumping up down except for the Krasensteins. Krasensteins tweeted yesterday. One of them tweeted something about, oh, see, the Inflation Reduction Act is working. Prices are going down. No, they're not going down, asswipe. Sorry, that's a lie. That is a lie. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. Exactly. Okay, moving on. Also trending, the International Court of Justice. Now, several things are trending because of this. And the reason it's trending, the ICJ, and I have 4 different tabs on this, is because breaking the ICJ, International Court of Justice, finds that South Africa has sufficient basis for their case against Israel, and they reject Israel's application to have the case thrown out. And so here it is. But let's see. But the IG say explicitly told Hamas to release Israeli hostages immediately. If Hamas respects the ICJ so much, why don't they comply with what the ICJ demanded? So Hamas officials calls for Israel to be forced to implement the ICJ ruling. Well, there is no ruling yet. The senior Hamas officials told Reuters that the ICJ decision is an important development that contributes to isolating Israel, exposing its crime. So the only thing they've ruled is that the case can go forward. Now, so several different trending topics are based on this. Here, in fact, here's the ruling, I believe.
The court's view, at least some of the acts and omissions alleged by South Africa to have been committed by Israel in Gaza appear to be capable of falling within the provisions of the convention.
Okay.
The court's view. So
in other words, they're not going to throw the case out. They are going to continue with the case. They haven't made a judgment on the actual case itself. But some people are mad on the, and then also the word genocide convention is trending because the International Court of Justice refuses to throw out South Africa's Genocide Convention lawsuit against Israel. No, they're not having a genocide convention. No, we're not having, the Turks and the Chinese and anyone else who's ever committed some kind of genocide. That old Germans and whatnot. It's not a genocide convention. That's the article in which that South Africa is suing or whatever, asking for relief in the International Court of Justice. So anyway, but also Uganda's trending because this one of the judges apparently from Uganda in the International Court of Justice. Let's see, what is here? Let me find it here. Let me find it real quick because let's see, I had it. What the hell? Let's find it. There we go. The International Court of Justice Judge Julia Sibatinde from Uganda voted against the provisional measures. So people are, clearly that she must go now because everyone's mad that not everyone agrees that this case should go forward. So that's why those things are trending. Moving on, Benny is trending. Hello. Oh wait, thanks. C. Thomas, another YouTube super chat. Thank you, sir. Dropping another deuce in the tip jar. Who says, no worry, we'll reach Myanmar levels soon enough. Okay. Oh, C. Thomas, you are awesome. Yeah, okay. So now, I don't know why Benny's trending because all I see is a lot of posts from Benny Johnson, who's he's kind of he's a thunder stealer, I call him, because he always has a lot of different. No, not rest in peace, Benny Hill. He says he's one of these guys who kind of tweet snipes everybody, and like if someone posts something, he finds all the great video and then he posts himself as if it was his idea. But I do like a couple posts that he has, and that's the only that's the only Benny that is trending that I really understand. I mean, his name comes up over and over and over. Otherwise, let's see. Brother of Israeli soldier who died in Gaza attacks, Israeli Minister Benny Gantz at his funeral. Okay, that's the other Benny right here. I'm not going to show it because there's violence, but that's the other thing that's trending. But one of the videos that Benny Johnson put up here is I always love it when Peter Ducey questions Latrine Jean-Pierre. And so he posted this one, and so we'll watch it just for the hell of it. Here we go.
Different topic. Is election denying a joke now?
What do you mean? You have to say more than just make a random statement.
Why did the president say, hello, Virginia, and the real governor, Terry McAuliffe?
He was making a joke about Terry. He was making a joke. I mean, if you play it back, it's clearly that the president was making a joke.
What's the joke?
He was making a joke about McAuliffe's previous term as governor.
How are you guys going to convince people, though, that this idea of denying election results is very bad if President Biden is going out and making jokes like this?
Okay, he did not deny it. He congratulated Governor Youngkin. Matter of fact, when he won his election, he did it out of the gate. Out of the gate. Really, truly. He congratulated the governor, and not only that.
What's hilarious, though, is this woman here, Latrine Jean-Pierre, was one of the biggest election deniers in 2016, saying Trump was an illegitimate president.
Opportunities to work closely with
anyway, this is dumb. I don't care why. I don't care about this. Shut up! I don't care. I'm saying you. In fact, where is it? Oh shit! Where did that? Oh, here.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Okay. Anyway, that's why Benny's trending. That's the only thing I can think of. And also Dilbert's trending. Scott Adams writes Dilbert, and he posted something here talking about Texas. This little post right here. This is why he's trending. Let's see. Does that get the whole thing on there? It says, "Women don't understand that the Civil War already started. Men live in a continuous state of violence. We size up every threat and have a tentative plan to kill it first. We live that war and it never stops. The battle to defend Texas and the homeland is already in full throw. Decisions have been made, and men on each potential side have evaluated the threat and gamed out the outcomes in their minds. I don't expect American men in uniform to start shooting at each other. We've gamed that out. No win. I do expect Biden to back down. His handlers will game it out the same. So that's his opinion. And there's a bunch of people who are very upset that he even decided to mention that. Some are saying he's very base. Some are saying, oh, this guy draws Dilbert. But whatever. And also he said the LA Times censored Dilbert even before I got canceled more than all the other papers combined. Good riddance. Talking about the loss of many of the staffers at the LA Times. Yeah, whatever. I don't know why all that's trending. But anyway, that's why Dilbert's trending. Also trending, Stephen King, who is now... he's another one of the celebrities who said that he will leave the country if Trump is reelected. And he also has claimed that the economy is stronger than ever. Under Trump, it was a disaster. To which my favorite account, the 3-year Letterman, says, Steve, not to be that guy, but my Uncle Gary overdrew his account thrice last month. How can you sit here and say it's stronger than ever when the lowest gas prices ever recorded were 5 years ago? Now, let's just say that's a kind of a spoof account, so don't get too serious about that answer. It was just a joke, just like Kamala Harris debating Joe Biden. Anyway, but anyway, Stephen King, another dipshit celebrity who says they're going to leave the country if Donald Trump is, oh my God, he's a scary looking motherfucker. That's him, Stephen King. All right, enough, but he's a great writer. I love his books. I got to tell you, he's made some thrilling books. All right, Barr is trending. Bill Barr is trending, and usually when Bill Barr trends is because he said something anti-Trump. And so here's Bill Barr, who rips into his former boss, but in the end will probably vote for him anyway. Here's Bill Barr. Let's see.
He is a consummate narcissist.
Yes, he is.
And he constantly engages in reckless conduct that puts his political followers at risk and the conservative and Republican agenda at risk.
Would he put the country at risk if he was in the White House again?
He will always put his own interests and gratifying his own ego ahead of everything else, including the country's interests. There's no question about it.
So Bill Barr
is a perfect example of that. He's like he's like a defiant 9-year-old kid who's always pushing the glass toward the edge of the table, defying his parents to stop him from doing it. It's a means of self-assertion and exerting his dominance over other people. And he's a very petty individual who will always put his interests ahead of the country's.
He's petty.
His personal
I agree.
Gratification of his,
what's up?
ego. But our country can't be a therapy session for a troubled man like this. He is.
So lots of lefties are excited about that Bill Barr is critical of Donald Trump. Yes, Donald Trump is a jackass. And we need a jackass back in office so bad. Thank you, C. Thomas. Drop another 5 spot in the tip jar, who says, Clown Jean-Pierre will whiz on your shoe and tell you it's raining when you then want to jail you if you disagree. Spot on, sir. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. C. Thomas, you are a great American. Yes, you are, of course. Thank you for sponsoring the show. Let's see. So that's the only reason Barr is trending. I mean, unless there is something else. No, people over and over, this clip over and over. Everyone loves it. But, here's the other thing, though. Bill Barr also is one to slay on mail-in voting. He's, look, he, whatever. I mean, and so now Donald Trump will post a post on Truth Social slamming Bill Barr. Yeah, the wheels in the clock bus go round and round. I don't care. Did I mention I don't care? All right. Let's see. So why did Bill Barr quit the position as U.S. Attorney General? Yeah, good question. Also trending, stand with Texas. Now, I would love to talk about this more, but I want to. We're actually in Puerto Rico, by the way. I'm going to talk to you probably later today. I'll give you a call. Because I want to. You mentioned one time that there's some possible way that I could talk to Tom Homan, the former what was his job? The immigration dude. He was the immigration dude. I want to talk to him. So you and I need to talk about that because apparently you know him or something. We'll hash that out over the phone. Anyway, Stand with Texas is trending because there's obviously a constitutional crisis, I guess. The Supreme Court has ordered Texas, or not Texas, has, while they're deciding the case between Texas and the United States, and Texas's wish to continue impeding the ever growing flow of illegal immigrants across their border, the Supreme Court, while they're litigating that thing, has said that the Border Patrol can take down the razor wire and barriers that Texas has been putting up. And Texas has chosen to continue putting them up. And now, I don't know if they're impeding the Border Patrol but taking them down, but they are continuing to put them back up because that was, Rod Line, what's up? That is what, they intend to do. And they've, and partially because Texas says that the United States is in dereliction of their duty. But here's the problem. And this is one I haven't researched enough. But I don't agree. Wait, let me rephrase that. I agree with Texas. If the Biden administration is dereliction in its duty, Texas certainly should be able to protect their own interests of the border because they're the ones having the greatest impact on the border. However, I'm not so sure that it is a good idea. In fact, I think it's a bad idea for them to defy a Supreme Court ruling. And so, and that seems to be where they're going now. All these people on here are saying, I stand with Texas. My friend, one of my favorite accounts, it's Tiff. Biden refuses to enforce laws regarding our borders, including violating those very laws that keep America safe. Hold the line, supporting Texas, right? Jenna Ellis, I stand with Texas and the Constitution. Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. I stand with Texas. When the federal government refuses to adhere to its responsibilities, it becomes the responsibility of the states. If Biden has chosen not to enforce immigration law, then the job now falls on the border states to protect their citizens. And he says Governor Abbott needs to send a message to the POTUS. Fuck around and find out. Okay, great. I don't disagree with anyone saying stand with Texas. But I don't like the idea of a state defying the Supreme Court. They're not defying. Their ruling was the Fed could take it down, not that Texas had to take it down. Correct. That is correct. But I know in one place they still haven't allowed the Feds, the Border Patrol access in that one park in Texas. They're not allowing them access to take them down. But censoring yourself is a grifter tactic to protect engagement. You are for free speech, correct? What the hell does that mean? My wife suggests I swear less, especially when I get the same point across without it. Here's a class I taught a couple years back. Okay, that's just talking to the blue collar intellectual. So anyway, lots of people, I stand with Texas. Here's one. Joe Biden supporting the cartels equals treason. I stand with Texas. I'm from Florida and I stand with Texas. Forget about standing with Ukraine or Israel. Every American should stand with Texas. And several states are saying that they are supporting Texas. By the way, there is a trucker convoy heading to the border. There's a big rally, I think, in a few days. Oh, a Krasenstein. Here's a Daily Krasenstein. Let's do this. Let's see what the Daily Krasenstein is. Here's Brian Krasenstein, Ed Krasenstein's uglier twin brother. There is so much misinformation. Okay, let's do an Ed Krasenstein voice. There is so much misinformation being pushed about immigration here on X from people saying we stand with Texas and their National Guard. Before you chime in with what you think Biden should do, perhaps you should understand the actual legal process that the Refugee Act of 1980 says must take place. Now let's stop there because I was watching listening to Space yesterday, and this guy kept talking about, well, we need to follow the Refugee Act, blah, 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 blah. There's a problem in this Refugee Act and the people supposedly seeking asylum. all of the cartels, all of the NGOs, all of the people telling people how to cross into our border and stay easily are advising. They have legal teams from the United States down there advising these people, you know what? If you get caught crossing the border illegally, just say that you're seeking asylum. Now, first of all, that's not the correct way to seek asylum. In fact, international law, so-called international law, says that you have to ask for asylum in the first country you step foot in that can give you asylum, and usually it's the next country over. Well, we're certainly not that next country from China, India, Arab nations, fucking Senegal, wherever else people coming from. All these people crossing oceans to get to Mexico to cross our border illegally. So clearly, they're not going through the right process of seeking asylum. And also, all the people from El Salvador and Honduras and all these other places saying they're seeking asylum. There's several countries in between us and their home countries that they should be seeking asylum in first. No, these caravans of people, thousands of them, maybe at a time, are coming over here, and they're all they got to do is they get onto the side of the border, and right now Biden has the Border Patrol basically as a processing station. We're going to process them all immediately and say, oh, you can come back to court in 4 years. Here's your free cell phone and where we're going to ship your ass. And people get the choice of where they want to go. It's they always bitch about Texas and some of the states busing them to other states. Well, the Biden administration is flying them to other states. So shut the damn fuck up. Anyway, all right, what does he say here? That's a rant. Hello, hypnagogic monk. Nice to have you here. Before you chime in with what you think, okay, here's it. Once any immigrant, okay, here's what he's going to say, and this is crazy. Once any immigrant steps foot in the U.S. and claims they are seeking asylum because their life is in danger, as they're being coached to do by the cartels who are trafficking them and everyone else that fucking goes across the border to tell them how to, here's how you circumvent the law. Just lie and say you're seeking asylum. You might get a hearing 4 years down the road, so you can stay here for 4 years on our dime or whatever until then. And then he says, regardless if there is razor wire in front of them or not, the following process must take place. Picture below. There is no way around it unless the laws are rewritten, not by Joe Biden, but by Democrats and Republicans in Congress. Please read and understand the process before saying we must push these people back over the border or immediately deport them. That view just shows your ignorance of the laws. Well, your ignorance of the law is that not every person from every country are eligible to seek asylum. So they could process that in about 2 minutes if you find out where they're from. And if they're from someplace where they had to take a boat, plane, or swim to get to Mexico to cross our border illegally, you can send their ass back immediately. It doesn't even, you could have the judges sitting there in the damn processing stations. Hey, where are you from? China. Okay, we're flying you home, asshole. Where are you from? Senegal. Okay, we're flying you home, asshole. Where are you from? Well, I am from a land far away. Well, do you have to cross water? Yes. Okay, here you go. Get your ass home, asshole. Bye. But no, we're not doing it. So anyway, repeal the Refugee Act. I see that, C. Thomas. Thank you for dropping another deuce in the tip jar. I'm giving it to you. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. But anyway, here, I'll give you one of these. Anyway, so now let's get back to Texas. The razor wire was installed in the U.S. territory. That means that when immigrants come over, they are already on U.S. soil, and the razor wire merely prevents Homeland Security from apprehending them on U.S. soil. These immigrants still have to go through the exact same process as anyone else who is apprehended on U.S. soil. If you truly want to stop these people, you need to stop them in Mexico before they set foot on U.S. land and rewrite the Refugee Acts in 1980. Great, let's do that! Which would then push actual asylum seekers to the side. No, they would just have to go to a port of entry and ask for asylum. Like the actual procedure. I know I get a bunch of people replying here suggesting that Biden should force the Border Patrol agents to do things that are illegal, but I only assume that you didn't read the photo chart below, which is based off the Refugee Act of 1980. Kiss my ass. I don't care. Okay, because they're circumventing the actual process by lying, saying they are asylum seekers. So go through the normal process where you go to a U.S. embassy or a port of entry. Yeah, that's the correct way to do it. But no, they don't want to do that. Again, thank you, C. Thomas, for that YouTube super chat. of course, though, it's the Krasensteins. Look, you're right, Ed. We need to change the process. And look, one of the guys argued yesterday, which is hilarious. He says people are dying. And they're saying, because they had the razor wire in the Rio Grande, and he brought up the woman and 2 children who drowned, and said that Texas was preventing them from going and saving those people. Now, if you haven't seen that story, what he seemed to leave out was they were never on the U.S. side of the Rio Grande. They drowned on the Mexico side. They drowned right in front of the Mexican authorities. Our Border Patrol agents weren't going to swim across the Rio Grande and go save them. They were not. It's not even their jurisdiction. So anyway, there's a bunch of red state governors who have announced they stand with Texas in the border fight with the Biden administration. It's happening. So it's pretty wild. Anyway, I'm not, like I said, I haven't kept up with the story as much as I probably should have. And so I don't have a whole lot more to comment about it. Also, treason is trending. Some of that's based on the Texas thing. The Biden administration, here's one of the things. The Biden administration demands that the state of Texas not defend itself. This is tyranny and treason. That's Rob Schneider, the comedian. So what else? Someone here, stand with Texas, Biden is supporting the cartels and treason. So anyway, a lot of people throwing that word around. I don't appreciate, while I, in my brain and my heart, I agree with that, I don't know that that's the true nature of what's happening, but it's certainly, it's certainly a dereliction of duty. Absolutely a fucking dereliction of duty. Are you kidding me? Anyway, all right, let's get into the main topic today, though, because I want to talk about how people have been responding as I've been talking about the 14th Amendment on X and on this channel and whatever, okay? So yesterday I posted this on Twitter. Okay, lawyers, constitutional scholars, and anyone else who thinks Section 3 of the 14th Amendment is, quote, self-executing. And I talked about my show yesterday. I said, here I make the case that Colorado and Maine decisions are not even within the jurisdiction of the states because the states do not determine eligibility for the president. Their only enforcement comes after the determination of eligibility. Plus, only Congress, through legislation, can execute the disability clause in Section 3 of the 14th, which they did in USC Section 182383. Federal jurisdiction. Tell me what I got wrong. It's queued up at the beginning of my argument. Now, a couple of my friendlies responded, but I noticed that a judge from Alabama, Judge David Carpenter, and please do not harass him. I actually want to have a just nice conversation with him because I'm pretty sure that he took a little dig at me, but I'm not going to take any digs at him, even though it's clear he's anti-Trump. And he thinks that, well, I'll show you what he posted. Anyway, he said, and when I said, again, when I wrote this, I said the words, and I said this, the word, plus, only Congress, through legislation, can execute the disability clause in Section 13 of the 14th, which they did, USC 2383, federal jurisdiction. Tell me what I got wrong. Now, the reason I said only, and maybe it's misplaced only, it's not that only Congress can execute the 14th Amendment, because that's what his reply is. His reply is, did you notice that you added the word only before the word Congress in Section 5? You had to do that to come to the conclusion you wanted. No, I didn't have to do that. I could have left that word out and it'd still apply, and I'll explain to him why. But he says the language in Section 5 is very common in the Constitution. It has never been interpreted to mean only Congress can enforce the amendment. Well, there's a problem with his answer to me that I would like to talk about. I did not say that only Congress can enforce the amendment. That would be silly because everyone has to enforce people's rights, right? And so I'm beginning my reply. I'm not done with it, but here's where I'm at so far. I said, I appreciate your input here, Judge Carpenter, and thank you for responding. Because I'm going to be polite to him. I'm not going to slam him like he attempted to backhandedly slam me. Oh, it's very tempting. But he's a judge in Alabama. He doesn't have any control over my life. I don't really care, but I'm just going to be respectful anyway. I did not say only Congress can enforce the amendment. I said only Congress, federal government, can enforce the disability clause, which is what they wrote legislation for, 2383. Now, why might I think that? Because Section 3, which is the disability clause, is not conferring or affirming privileges and immunity, but rather removing them. And that's important because people are bringing up the self-executing thing, which I'll get to in a second. They're removing someone's privileges and immunity, which would be the eligibility to be president. They're taking away something from you, and they're taking away from a citizen. For a cause, which is called insurrection, which is criminal law in the United States, right? It's federal criminal law. Insurrection is a violation of federal criminal law, a federal criminal act. So in order to remove the ability of someone to be eligible to be president, Section 1 of the 14th Amendment says that there must be due process. And in this case, it must be in federal court for the alleged criminal act, which is insurrection, which is under federal law. The states do not adjudicate federal law. So and again, you can't just, the state of Colorado can't just declare insurrection, like the way Michael Scott declares bankruptcy. You know what I mean? It's not sufficient. You can't, I declare bankruptcy. The states don't adjudicate federal law. So that's why only the federal government can execute Section 3. You can't, it's not self-executing because it exists. The insurrection part has to be adjudicated before you can say someone is ineligible because of it. So, while Section 5 may be boilerplate language, it is significant when determining how Section 3 will be implemented, federal legislation. It wasn't thrown in there for some frivolous afterthought to be dismissed, particularly concerning the circumstances that the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment came about. They weren't making new amendments to give the states a lot of say in this shit. And again, insurrection's a federal crime. The only way you can say that someone committed a federal crime, you can't. It's not the crime itself. The punishment for the crime itself is not self-executing because you have to be guilty of the crime first. Just because all these assholes have been yelling insurrection for 3 years doesn't make it an insurrection. It doesn't mean that someone's guilty of the crime. That's an interpretation that is not the purview of the states. It's not a state. It's not a state provision. Also, we're talking about election eligibility. Okay, for the unique federal position of the President of the United States, which is the only office voted for by the states, by all the states. So states have to adhere to the constitutional requirements of the office. They do not determine them. The federal government determines the requirements for the President of the United States. So only the federal government, through due process, Section 1 of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, can remove privileges and immunity, i.e., eligibility to be president, from a United States citizen. So, question. I'm going to add some questions here. I want that. We'll just put it in the chat because I'll go through the chat again. I'm not going to put a question section out. I don't have time, unfortunately, guys. But if you want to put it into, put it into the chat like Advocacy did, ask him his opinion if a red state removed Biden for the accused malfeasance of taking money or his terrible handling of the border under the guise that he has forsaken his oath. That's a question. Yeah, no, that's a great question. Thank you, JB, by the way, dropping a Canadian $5 in YouTube Super Chat. It says there was a judge that let a a rapist off because he was too short and wouldn't do good in prison. Spits on them in disgust. Point proven. Holy shit. Thank you for sponsoring the show. So anyway, so other responses, and then another one of the responses I got was in regard. Wait a minute. By the way, this is Judge David Carpenter, and I admire the stuff that I see from Judge David Carpenter on at least that he posts on Twitter. He has a special court in which he it's called the Veteran Court Program that he started himself, and they've he basically works to help veterans a lot. Okay, I appreciate that. But I have to laugh because one of the things that he has posted, again, don't bother this man. I just wanted to show it to you. He posted this and he says, I've been saying this for over 2 years. If you don't summarily disregard the 14th Amendment case for disqualification and you seriously analyze all the arguments for and against it, the result is clear. The 14th Amendment demands disqualification. And again, I ask, under whose jurisdiction is that? But here's what he posted this article in The Atlantic by George fucking Conway. George Conman. That's Skeletor's husband. Whatever her name is. That's the Trump. That's the couple that they're both Republican, but one is a Trump advisor and the other's anti-Trump. What is her name? I don't know what her name is. So he posts an article by George fucking Conway. Okay, and here's George Conway's article in The Atlantic. Donald Trump is on his way of becoming the history's greatest litigation loser. But in the multi-front war of Trump versus seemingly everyone else, he has just prevailed in one small skirmish, the battle of the questions presented. Late Friday afternoon, the Supreme Court of the United States agreed to review the Supreme Court of Colorado's decision that held Trump ineligible to serve again as president under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, the provision barring insurrectionists from public office. Well, we've got a problem already there, George. How do you determine if someone is an insurrectionist against the United States of America? Certainly not in a state court. Are you saying that we should handle federal law in state courts? That's a good question. Oh, anyway, that came as no surprise. The nation's high court also ordered an unusually fast schedule with oral arguments to be held 34 days on February 8th. That too came as no surprise. All parties of the case agreed that the court should hear the case and do so expeditiously so the states and voters could know before the presidential primary season ends whether Trump was eligible for office. What was unusual was that the court's choice to grant review without specifying the particular legal issues it intends to decide. Both the Colorado Republican Party and Trump had petitioned the Supreme Court to take the case. The court granted Trump's petition and did not rule on the Colorado's GOP. What's somewhat odd about that is that Trump's petition was itself odd. Very odd. In the days of Marbury versus Madison, the Supreme Court would take up entire cases, all of the issues presented by them. As the law professor Ben Johnson recently put in The Atlantic, the court was explicit that its duty was to give a judgment on the whole record. No cherry picking of questions, in large part because of the mind-numbing volume of litigation presenting federal issues in the United States today. However, the Supreme Court essentially no longer does that when it reviews lower court decisions. It not only chooses what cases to take, it also chooses which specific issues within those cases it wants to decide. Well, there's a reason why they might not be doing that here. Why? Because it didn't go through the normal process of going through appellate courts lower appellate courts in the United States, on the federal side. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Who knows why? But they did, because there's a lot of issues that probably haven't been brought up yet, like the one that I keep talking about. At least not as much as I thought. Anyway, the court order makes those choices on the basis of the issues the parties seek to review, point out in what's called their petition for certiorari. As a result, arguably, the most important part of the petition for certiorari doesn't appear in the body of the brief. It appears before the table of contents on the page just inside the cover. If it is there that Rule 14 of the Supreme Court rules require petitioners to list the questions presented for review without unnecessary detail. The questions must be short and not argumentative or repetitive. Most important, the only questions set out in the petition or fairly included therein will be considered by the court. I also imagine one of the reasons they want to listen to all reasons about this. Hello, Cannibalistic Wizard, by the way. The only reason they probably aren't limiting the questions that can be presented here is so that they don't have to come back again when someone else petitions the court because of a different reason. This is one big thing that they got to get done in one fell swoop. So they can't go coming back and forth with new questions. So yeah, let's bring all your questions and we'll deal with it like the old way. Those are supposed to be specific questions of law and facts. In other words, you can ask the Supreme Court to decide whether the Court of Appeals correctly held that the Interstate Trafficking of Unlawfully Bright Widgets Act of 2024 applies to yellow widgets, but not whether the district court correctly found Acme widgets to be yellow and not chartreuse. See? Now again, he doesn't like the idea of the fact that they might be able to question who can adjudicate in the word insurrection. That's his problem. He wants to be able to say, well, it's an insurrection. It doesn't matter what they say. Well, wait a minute. How do you determine whether or not someone participated in an insurrection? Well, the state court already said they did, so we don't want to have to determine whether they have the right to do that. That's probably what he's saying here. Anyway, in accordance with these practices, Colorado GOP's petition for certiorari presented three discrete questions of law. Whether the president is covered by Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, whether the Section 3 can be enforced only through congressional legislation, and whether Trump's disqualification violated the party's First Amendment rights. Trump's petition took an entirely different approach, one that didn't conform with the ordinary rules or practices. His lawyers presented only one question, and it wasn't just a discrete or pointed question of law, but rather a blunderbuss one. In his opinion, of course, did the Colorado Supreme Court err in ordering President Trump excluded from the 2024 presidential primary ballot? That is a good question. This was a Cuisinart of a question. Only in the body of Trump's petition could you find all the ingredients that went into it. In their response, opposing counsel took Trump lawyers to task, I think correctly, for lumping no fewer than 7 distinct legal and factual issues into a single and precise question presented. Because they only want to do this once. Because everyone's going to try to come up with new novel ways to get around whatever this ruling is if it's not the way they want it to go. So let's get them all out of the way now so we don't have to fuck around and find out later. There are at least 3 possible reasons for Trump's counsels took this approach. One may be relative lack of experience in the Supreme Court. Trump, as we all know by now, has trouble retaining lawyers suitable for the task presented with them. I agree. I think, again, I don't like how the Trump team did this. I probably should have read their petition, but I didn't. Here, I've heard it, I've read it, I've listened. Robert Guevara is attorney on YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, and he went through the entire thing. So I used the Reader's Digest way to do it. Hello, Select Boy.
Yeah, boy.
Because lawyers value their reputations and licenses. Oh, that's a swipe at Trump. Yes, see, Mr. Conway here doesn't believe that Trump should even get legal counsel. He thinks it just should be done. They should just put him in jail because I hate Donald Trump. That's George Conway's opinion. Just the other day, even Mark Meadows was able to hire a former Solicitor General to bring a case to the Supreme Court, but the best lawyers won't work for Trump. Another reason is the audience of one problem that everyone working for Trump faces. Cuisinart questions reek of narcissism. It says, look at what they did to me. So unfair. It translates easily from the original Trumpish, wasn't the Colorado Supreme Court so very mean to me? Well, yeah, it doesn't do that either. You're lying there, George. But I bet the most significant explanation of the weakness of Trump's case, when you ask, should Trump be stricken from the ballot, the typical reaction you get is, are you serious? How could it be possible to take a party's leading candidate off the ballot? I know, because that was essentially my initial reaction until I really started digging into the case and saw how Trump shouldn't prevail on any of the subsidiary issues that ought to actually decide the case. Well, I have some news for you, George. I think even though I'm not a lawyer, my nickname's Lawyer Dog, but I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV. Just a simple reading of all the things involved tell me, yeah, maybe this Colorado Supreme Court doesn't have jurisdiction for this. Federal laws, right? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so he says, indeed, okay, blah, blah, blah. Take the contention it is too difficult for the courts to figure out standards by which to determine what it means to engage in an insurrection. That's beautiful, George. And again, insurrection has a meaning and it has a legal procedure for determining if someone was engaged in it, called due process, which you're not doing here, to take away a privilege in Section 1 of the 14th Amendment. But oh God, that's what everyone's forgetting. This whole self-executing thing. I'll get to it, I promise. The simple question to that response is that, you're kidding, right? You mean the courts can divine the meaning of equal protection of the laws under Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, but not insurrection under Section 3. Yes, because equal protection of the law means you have rights. Section 3 means they're trying to take away a right. And insurrection has a definition and legal procedure in the federal courts. Or the argument that the president is not an officer of the United States. That's a dumb one. I don't know why they're wasting time on that one. That's not even important. But the argument that the president is not an officer of the United States under Section 3, wait, what? You're suggesting that the document that refers to the presidency as an office literally dozens of times that requires the holder of that office to take an oath of office, guess what? Say that the person holding the office isn't an officer. And check out this brand new research paper that contains an avalanche of historical material to demonstrate that when the 14th Amendment was ratified, the president was regularly thought to be and talked about as an officer of the United States. Did you know that in the numerous proclamations, President Andrew Johnson variously referred himself as an officer and the chief executive officer, blah, 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 blah. The petition also claims that Section 3 requires Congress to enact implementing legislation under Section 5 before Section 3 can be enforced. Sorry, that's not what the Supreme Court has held in other provisions of the Reconstruction Amendments, including the Equal Protection Clause. Now, this is the one that pisses me off, that they should know better, okay? Because, again, they're arguing that because the Supreme Court ruled that the parts of the 14th Amendment are what do they call it? Self-executing, okay? That Section 3 is also self-executing, except, again, you're taking away someone's rights. You're taking away someone's privilege and immunity. So you have to, in order to do that, Section 1, due process. And to top matters off, we find this question buried deep in Trump's petition. Does the Supreme Court really think the former president engaged in insurrection under Section 3? But that's a factual question. The sort the court doesn't normally decide. The Colorado court reviewed every possible meaning of insurrection, and that still didn't help your case. And even if your lawyers don't think the Supreme Court's going to save you there, or else they wouldn't have relegated it to page 26 of your brief. Again, the Colorado court has no jurisdiction to determine whether you engage in insurrection. Insurrection is a legal term under the federal law. How is it that this is insane, that people can't figure this out? In other words, Trump's Quizzer tries to blend a bunch of weak issues into a stronger one. In appellate courts, that usually doesn't work. All of this still highlights a mystery. Why did the Supreme Court let Trump questions stand? Ordinarily, when a court doesn't like the questions presented by Centuria petition, no, George, you don't like the questions. You don't like the questions. And again, oh my God, it does one of two things. It doesn't take the case, and if it does take the case, it rewrites the questions as it sees fit. And in fact, Trump's opponents asked the court to break the big question down into its component parts, but the court didn't do that, and probably didn't do that because they're trying to get 9 people to agree on how to reformulate the questions presented that would have taken time when time is of the essence. The court and the parties have to sort it out the next 30 odd days what the case will ultimately be about. That's good news and bad news for both sides. It's good news for Trump in that the case is one big grab bag in which the court can dig around until it finds some way, maybe not a particularly convincing one, not a convincing one. Fuck you, George. That's because you won't like the decision if it doesn't go your way. Whew. Derby to the court could end up once again proving the truth of Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes' famous adage that great cases like hard cases make bad law. Or maybe not. The reason the court had to take the Cuisinart question was because Trump and the GOP couldn't find a dispositive legal proposition that the Colorado court got clearly wrong. And that's the problem. Hello, Havoc Styles. How you doing? That's jurisdiction. Absolutely. Jurisdiction. All those cases, that 60 cases that the courts threw out of Trump, challenging the election, those were all jurisdiction cases, right? Well, jurisdiction's a pretty popular, excuse for throwing cases out. So the states did not have jurisdiction to take away the rights of a American citizen. Privileges and Immunities Clause in the 14th Amendment, Section 1, they did not have the right to do that without due process. There was no due process in this case because it's federal law, which means you go in front of a federal jury of your peers, and nobody in the federal government, federal judiciary, federal Justice Department has ever charged or let alone convict Donald Trump of insurrection. Checkmate. So that judge thought this was a good. Now, granted, I'll give him this. The idea that normally the courts have you come in with specific questions and they don't like to, they want to make sure that they know what they're going to be asked about. That's a valid point. The only problem with that valid point is because they have to do this expeditiously because, primaries are all coming up, right? Because they have to do this expeditiously, that's probably why they didn't ask for specific questions, because they got to get it right the first time. So, when you do something in 30 days, usually they have months and months to come up with this and whatever. And they don't have time for that. So as people, as they get close to that date, both parties are getting all the other questions that they can together. Anyway, so here is the thing on the self-executing, and then I'm going to have to finish from here, okay? So someone else said, well, the Supreme Court already... Well, they didn't write in ruled, but ruled the 14th Amendment is self-executing. Wrong. They didn't say the 14th Amendment is self-executing, and they pointed out this little thing right here. Okay? So, and this is where Section 3 is one of 4 substantive sections of the 14th Amendment. Section 1, and no state, blah, blah, blah. And Section 2, representatives shall be apportioned. Section 3, no person shall be a senator, whatever the disqualification clause. Section 4, the validity of the public debt of the United States, okay? And so this little thing here, let's read it, because it does not say Section 3 is self-executing. I'll tell you exactly why Section 3 is not self-executing. U.S. Constitution Amendment 14, 1 through 4, Section 5 is then an enforcement provision that applies to each of these substantive provisions. And yet the Supreme Court has held that Section 1 is self-executing. Why? Because those are rights. Section 1, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall deprive any person of life, liberty, property without due process of law. Of course, that would be self-executing. That is preserving the rights of the people without you cannot deprive them of life, liberty, property. You cannot abridge the privileges and immunities without due process. That is self-executing. You don't have to write a law to make that work, right? Next, then they go on. Section 2, moreover, was enacted to eliminate the constitutional compromise by which an enslaved person was counted as only 3/5 of a person for purposes of legislation apportionment. William Bott, Mitchell Stokes, Paulson, the sweep, blah, 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 forthcoming, that's the reference. The self-executing nature of that section has never been called into question. And in the reapportionment following the passage of the 14th Amendment, Congress simply treated the change as having occurred. Okay, so Section 1, then they went straight to, Section 2. They didn't even give you the whole clause here. They only talked about Section 1 and Section 2. Look, there's no such thing as a federal law that is self-executing. In order to have the engaged in insurrection, you have to be charged with insurrection. The insurrection is against the law, the federal law. So once you've determined through due process someone has engaged in insurrection, then you can execute Section 3. No person shall be a senator, representative, or elected president of the United States or hold office in the United States who, having previously taken an oath to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection. The shall have engaged in insurrection is the part that you have to prove. Or you could say anyone, you could claim anyone engaged in insurrection. Yeah, Section 2 is a directive to Congress itself. From Congress to itself, yes. So, but Section 1, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges and immunities of citizens of the United States. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges and immunities of the United States. Ability to serve as president of the United States is one of the privileges and immunities of citizens of the United States. You may not abridge that privileges and immunities without due process of law. Not even in Section 3. This just tells you what law would cause them to lose that privilege and immunity. Insurrection. You would have to be... the idea that someone could just yell, "You engaged in an insurrection! Insurrection! Insurrection!" You can't do that. The state can't do that. Sorry about the Q&A. I don't have time. I said that earlier. So, it's insane. And it's funny. The good judge, in his little quip to me, which, fine, I'm a big boy. I can take it. You had to do that to come to the conclusion you wanted. Well, clearly, the ones who want to say that it's self-executing have to say that to come to the conclusion that you wanted, sir. The idea that you can take away someone's rights or privileges and immunities, abridge them without due process, is also written into the 14th Amendment. It's not a restaurant menu. It all comes as one piece. It all comes together. And you can't do it. It is not within the purview of the states to adjudicate federal law at the state level. And the history of the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendment, why they came about, should probably also instruct you on that. But, again, I say, declaring Section 5, while it's boilerplate language, it is significant when determining how Section 3 will be implemented, federal legislation. And it wasn't just thrown in there as some frivolous afterthought to be dismissed as you try to do it here. Because, oh, yeah, it shows up in a lot of things. Well, in order to distinguish it from the the things that are not expressed in via the 10th Amendment, you have to say that. So whether it's boilerplate language or not, it is significant in the 14th Amendment. Now, am I wrong? Can I be wrong? Hell yeah, I can be wrong. Or could I be wrong in that the Supreme Court won't see it that way? Of course, they might not see it that way. I'm not a lawyer. I work for UPS, and I once slept at a Holiday Inn Express. So that's my credentials, but I can fucking read. So there you go, guys. I apologize for the question A. If I have time this afternoon, maybe I'll run another stream or something and do that. But yeah, I didn't even put it up because I didn't have time. So, and yes, and have you considered that Orange Man bad? Yes, Orange Man is bad. He's the bad man with the funny hair. And sometimes we just have to accept that. So, guys, I got to go. Thank you for joining me today on the Morning Night Live. Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock. I'm here and, well, around 10 o'clock, as you well know. And I'll drop the links in the chat at the during the outro and also in the descriptions of both YouTube and Rumble. So thank you for joining me this week. It's my 5th year anniversary. I'm enjoying this. You all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I will see you soon. My name is Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here. Have a lovely, lovely weekend. Bye-bye. Hey, this is Dawg Knight, and thank you for watching today on the Dawg Knight Channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here.